by the city council unless otherwise requested by a council member for separate consideration. I will now open this up to the public, though, to see if there's any public comment on any item on the consent calendar. Okay, seeing no one approach, I will bring it back to council. Does any member of the council have a question for staff or wish to pull an item for further discussion? Okay, seeing none, I will invite a motion on the consent calendar.
Move approval of the consent calendar.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilmember Funk and a second by Councilmember Peak. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Funk,
Yes.
Councilmember Peak,
Yes.
Councilmember Newsom,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Daris,
Yes.
Mayor Werbo.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, thank you. With that, we are going to proceed to updates from our city manager, Mr. Lewis.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of council. I do have several good updates tonight. The first is talking about our ECR project construction. I do hope people are enjoying El Camino Real from 41 to Traffic Way. It's functional, it's beautiful. People can park there for free, of course, and really see where we are. That's what it looks like. So really pleased that's open. For the rest of this week, we'll be doing electrical work and landscaping in the median between El Camino, between Traffic Way and Rosario. So we're on the north end. We'll be between Traffic Way and Rosario for probably the next month. The rest of this month is about the duration of this, I think. We'll be milling asphalt on June 10th and paving the roadway June 11th through 13th. So that did get pushed back a week. We wanted all of our efforts to finish south of Traffic Way prior to graduation school, et cetera. So I think that was a good decision from the contractor. And we will have message and directional signs posted, flaggers, et cetera. There is night work. I don't see that in here, but there is night work tomorrow that has been authorized from 8 p.m. Through the morning, correct, Mr. DeBar?
I believe it's going to be Thursday night. They're going to into Friday morning. They're going to have paving work.
Okay, so we did authorize some night work.
Yes.
That date may have changed. Oh, I see that here, night work on Thursday, the June 12th. And this is really to minimize impacts, or it will be distracting and difficult to doing that at night is something we're trying to minimize impact to drivers and the public. We try and use night work rarely, but when it can make a difference. So that's what's going on the project. During the following week, 16th to the 20th, electrical crosswalks and landscaping work will continue in the median on El Camino between Traffic Way and Rosario. So that's all good. We're getting there. Going to the zoo, we now have a new name, but not a new zoo. Our zoo is as amazing as it always has been. But we now have the Central Coast Zoo. So there's the council toasting the new sign, the new logo. It is the Central Coast Zoo. And we're really proud of that. And we tested this through several groups. We had the big reveal again last Saturday at the 22nd Annual Ice Cream Zoofari, the 70th birthday of our zoo, a perfect time to unveil the new name for the new chapter. I think what's important, though, to note is the history of our zoo is important. And Charles Paddock is important, and his story is important. And so I want to be very clear that the plaza is named the Charles Paddock Plaza. And that is where the statue of Chuck Paddock is, his story, and we'll continue to tell his story. On the back of our coloring book and many of our materials is a story of Chuck Paddock, and that will continue to mean a lot to our community. And so we had a lot of support, surveying over 250 people and meetings with major stakeholders, et cetera. So really pleased with the name during our accreditation process. The accreditation committee really liked the name and the logo and liked where we were headed. So I'm really pleased with our name. So we will now be referred to as the Central Coast Zoo. I think we have a picture of, there is the statue of Charles Paddock and the Charles Paddock entrance and plaza. So I think there was some concern that we were trying to remove Mr. Paddock and his legacy, and that's not true at all. We actually are creating a name that will embrace a larger area and embrace the area of which our zoo attracts from, and will open up many other opportunities, and we do honor Charles Paddock. Moving on to aquatics program. So we're getting really close to announcing the program. We've been talking about it starting in the end of June, and there's just details here and there. We're onboarding lifeguards now. We have our supervisor. We did learn of a hiccup at the high school pool. There's a maintenance thing that needs to get taken care of just prior to when we were going to start, but that should not impact the season very much. But we can't say the date we're looking to start. Can we? I think it's important for
can.
people.
June 30th, they'll
June
probably be the
30th.
start date, so it'll be a 5-week program.
So if you do want to get swim lessons for your child, we will have discounted swim lessons. We will have large packs of swim passes, or you can do day-by-day drop-in swim. And keep an eye out because this will be a very affordable lesson for your children. And I think that's really important. This was a priority of the council. So do look, what's the best source, Ms. Banish, just for signups, dates, because I know we're getting this out soon.
Atascadero.org, and they can go to the recreation page and it'll be a banner at the top.
Okay, so you'll have information for swim lessons and the whole bit. So stay tuned imminently. But that's, we're excited to announce the Summer Aquatics program. Okay, in time for the weekend, the first summer movie in the park. We have some great ones. June 13th, Moana 3, which is quite a movie. I watched that a couple of weeks ago. Actually, Moana 3 is Moana 2. Moana 3, this is a sneak preview. I produced it over the weekend. I'm like, what? I just watched Moana 2. Huh? This is June 3rd, Moana 2. And people are messing me with these notes. And then we have family fun at 7 p.m. with games and activities. And the movie will start around 8 and go till about 10 o'clock. It is a great, great movie. Free to attend, we'll have concessions and all kinds of games. So there'll also be a family wiffle ball game. I appreciate our recreation team is trying to really kick these movies up a notch and have a lot of a carnival atmosphere, more of a family-friendly atmosphere. This is something I know the recreation team has put a lot of work into. So do support them June 13th for Moana 2. Moana 3 is coming out in the summer of 2035. I'm just kidding. Okay, Wildfields Lakeside. Check this out. So we have a slide here. There's Wildfields Lakeside. This is our new paddle boat operator. Their official grand opening is Saturday, June 14th. So coming up this weekend will be the official grand opening, just in time for summer. And they're having a great time out there selling snacks, food. Of course, they have Wildfields' famous beer and a nice shaded area to enjoy summer. So June 14th at 11 a.m. is the official grand opening of the Paddle Boat Shack Wildfields Lakeside. Next, we have A-Town Art Hop returning to downtown Atascadero for 2 days of art, culture, and collective spirit. Friday, June 13th, a lot going on this weekend from 6 to 9. There you can see that. We have an opening night reception and art walk, followed by the next day from 12 to 5 for the social and art walk. Lakeside Wine Fest. I know we got some wine festers out there. The 28th annual Lakeside Wine Fest is upon us. Tickets are on sale now. You do want to buy your ticket now. You don't want to wait till the day of. Do buy your ticket advance. This is Saturday, June 21st at 4 p.m., the 28th annual Lake Fest. You'll have tastings, unlimited tastings from our 50 wineries, breweries, and cideries. It's a delicious way to spend the afternoon in the Lake Park and Zoo. And we'll have plenty of food purveyors serving food for purchase. We have art, gifts, lots of activities. The Central Coast Zoo is a big part of this experience with the Roar and Pour experience, allowing you to get close up to our ambassador animals and learn how the zoo plays a very important role in conservation efforts throughout the world. A portion of the proceeds from the festival do go directly back to the zoo to support wildlife conservation. So we really appreciate the efforts of the chamber and their team in putting this on and helping raise money for the zoo. So thank you, Josh and Joey and your team for the work you do there. It's great. There'll also be lots of photo opportunities, fun photo opportunities, and live music. So make sure you're there. I'll be there. I'll hang out with you. All right, mark your calendars for the downtown block party. We don't have enough parties. Gosh, we got movies, we got zoo parties, we got art hops. And now we have the event of the season, the downtown block party on June 27th from 5 to 9. So this is meant to be the kickoff. You can see we have a little disco ball theme here. There's a disco ball scavenger hunt, live music by Traffic Records DJs. This will be a fun event for everyone. We'll kick off with the ribbon cutting, and we have membership or representation from Senator Laird, Congressman Panetta, and the Slow Cog. We'll be unveiling the plaque, kicking off the opening officially, and then having parties for hours. There'll be extended hours. Businesses have specials. Really excited that so many of them have come together to start really planning their future. And that's where some of the disco ball scavenger hunt came from. There's going to be sales, special opportunities of things to taste and buy. We will be doing a significant ad campaign for this. So we want to pack town. And then for the business community, for their patients, we'll continue to run the ad campaign for a while after the event to make sure the county knows we are open and done under construction. Let's come back to Atascadero and see how amazing we are. Our first summer concert at the lake, Saturday in the Park concert series is June 28th, starting at 6:30. The Rockin' Bees Band will be playing rock, country, and more. Concerts are always free to attend. Bring a low back chair. There is food available for purchase. And our evenings are always beautiful as you listen to music. So it's a lot going on this month in our wonderful city. Any questions?
Any questions of council for Mr. Lewis? Okay, seeing none, the
Thank you.
next item on the agenda is community forum. And community forum is reserved for those persons wanting to address the city council on any matter not on the agenda, but over which the council has jurisdiction. The Brown Act prohibits the council from discussing matters not on the agenda. However, we may at our discretion ask staff to contact a speaker or ask staff a quick question raised by a speaker. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes, and if you wish to speak, please state your name for the record. Anybody wishing to speak, please approach the podium now.
Good evening, Council. Jeff Oslin, resident on the west side of Atascadero, and I'm going to bring up the fire discussion from the last council meeting, and like to have terminology changed from our council. It was stated that everything on the west side is in the red zone for the state of California. It is not. My house is not. And I think that's something that needs to be addressed. I did send our mayor a copy of my address and the state photo of me being in the white zone, not an orange zone, not a red zone. I'm also concerned about what happened last week at the council meeting with the council members that had to sit out. I actually think it should have been the opposite, because when we do things in the future with the, I believe it was called the WISI map, which is our map from the fire department. The 2 council members that are affected were the ones that were still left on the dais, because that can change what you guys do for building in the future. The state, according to you guys, is going to do what they do. It's unfortunate we didn't stand up to the state, but I understand we could lose grant money and everything else, and it's not worth the fight. But my difference in opinion on this is, when the state comes down with building code, it is for the entire state. It is one fair swoop. Whether it is fair or not doesn't really matter. When they came out with this fire map, they just drove over, flew a plane, threw darts at a dartboard and said, here we go. And they did this to every different jurisdiction, every different city, every different county. There is no consistency, and I would bet that they never have even visited Atascadero. And I think our fire department does a fairly good job on figuring out what we need to do to protect our city. So there is a distinct difference. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other speakers, please approach the podium. Yes, and please don't wait. If anybody wishes to speak after this gentleman, please don't wait. Please line up behind him.
Oh, okay. I got a few questions about the Charles Paddock Zoo for me. Did not they try to change the name? I don't know if it was this group. Did not they try to change the name of the zoo a few years ago and it got shut down big time? Is that correct or false?
I'll let you finish your comments and I'll try to answer your questions.
Oh, we can't.
Yeah, we don't engage in a one, just back and forth dialogue. So we let you speak and then if
Okay,
we'll try to answer your questions.
so then I want to know, you say it was notified or whatever. I'm in a small group of people, mornings, lunches, breakfast, afternoon get-togethers. And the group of people that I was around never ever heard one word about any discussion about the name change. You sit up there, you tell us that, oh no, we had this person and that person and 250 people and this and that. And I don't know where you find these people or where you get them, but the people that I know knew nothing about it, never heard about it. And if you do read the posts on Facebook that have been posted since you did change the name. It's very negative. I went to school with Charles Paddock's, both of his sons and new Mr. Paddock, very, very regular. And as far as I'm concerned, by leaving this quote legacy, you just threw a little bone to him to appease the public, to where you keep his name maybe in the forefront, but as far as I'm concerned, it's in the rear front. So anyhow, when and who, how do you guys decide in this particular instance? I'm gonna talk about the zoo. You guys sitting around talking, and somebody, hey, wait a minute, I got an idea. Let's change the name of the zoo. Where's the idea come from? Who's the person in charge? Is any one of you willing to accept responsibility and say, hey, look over here, buddy. I'm the one that said, let's change the name. Is any one of you willing to do that?
Again, I'll
Okay,
I'll
okay, I'm
respond
done.
when-
Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, if you're done, go ahead, take a seat. I'll respond to that, and I'll ask a couple things. One is, I think there was some discussion about changing the name of zoo maybe 10, 12 years ago, either right before I got on the council, right after, and there was, I think, some pushback. It didn't happen. This has been discussed, and I'm going to ask either Ms. Banish or later Mr. Lewis, but maybe Ms. Banish could sit down with you and explain to you how the outreach was done in terms of having this discussion. But it was suggested by staff, but I'm 100% behind making it. So I'll stand here and tell you I was totally supportive of the name change. It wasn't, my idea per se, but I'm totally supportive of the name change. And as I indicated, we can't really get into a discussion of something not on the agenda. But so I'll tell you that much, and ask Ms. Banish is over this both in the sense of our marketing and supervises over the zoo. So I think she could discuss that with you. If you could leave her name with you, or I don't know, Terry, if you'd have a chance to just sit down with him in the audience.
No, I don't need any discussion. Thank you.
Okay, all right, thank you. And then anybody else wishing to speak in community forum? Okay, if not, Mr. Osland, I did show the thing you sent me to our city clerk in particular, and looked it up, and it did show orange, it showed white, and under old things. What I'm going to suggest you do is move 3 rows behind, sit next to Chief Monson, who I see has an iPad. Chief, is that something you can show to Mr. Osland? And he can show you how he got the result he got. So that'd be great if you could do that. That would be great. Okay, with that, we will close community forum. We will move on to our public hearings. And we will begin with the Prop 218 protest process relative to the proposed increase in wastewater sewer rates. And so for that, I'm going to, there's a series of recommendations because of the process, but I'm going to turn it over to our Public Works Director, Mr. Nick DeBar, to present this item.
Thank you, Mayor Burbo. As you mentioned, Prop 218, majority protest process tonight related to wastewater rates. It's a little background. Oops. I'm in a little trouble with the remote. Luke, you want to just advance? I got a few slides. A little background on this. April 22nd, council reviewed the wastewater rate analysis. I was prepared to support the rate structure. At that meeting, we went over the rates and the reasons for the rates and those things. A lot of it's regulatory requirements, capital cost, ongoing and increasing operational costs. At that meeting, the council directed staff to prepare and begin the Prop 218 process. So anytime rates are increased for utilities or others, it's a California Constitution to send notice to the ratepayers. And they have staff did send out notices after the public hearing, and a notice was sent to owners of 5,611 parcels in town. And just a little background is, so the majority protest is you need a majority of the ratepayers, 50% plus 1, to be able to protest the rate increase. And if that happens, council can't increase If that doesn't happen, the council can go ahead with the increase and that's proposed or something less. And the proposed increase this year is for a single family home is $48.15 a month to $57.06 per month. Next slide, please, Luke. So this is a table of the customer user classification schedule with the current and proposed rates in the right-hand columns there. So again, this is all based on equivalent dwelling units or EDUs. And you can see there kind of the breakdown of those. But again, 4815 to 5706 for a single family home EDU. Next slide, please. This is a table I know we presented at that the previous meeting in April showing rates with us, with the city's ratepayers compared to others. This was taken in March, so the data is probably outdated because a lot of these utilities were pursuing increases as well. But at that point, it's a snapshot in time of what those rates were for a typical single family home. Next slide, please. And then one other thing we talked about too is we know that we have a lot of work to do with the wastewater project. We have a very expensive wastewater treatment plant that we're mandated to improve to meet new discharge requirements for the state. So we're very cognizant of the rates and the cost with that plant and ongoing cost. And we're had some public engagement. We prepared a presentation that some of you may have seen. And we're going to start public engagement beginning in June, mid to late June. That'll go through the rest of the year. We've got an ad hoc committee that's going to be overseeing and giving us feedback on our presentation and all things rates. And then we're also talking to regional partners right now, ASH and others around us to really look forging partnerships to make sure that the impact to our ratepayers is palatable as well as their ratepayers as well. So I think there's some real good opportunities that we have available to really look into this. And that's currently going on, and we anticipate that lasting through next year sometime. We're also talking to the water board about our new effluent discharge limitations and, are pushing back and trying to find some common ground with them. So those negotiations are ongoing. And at the same time, we're going to be moving ahead with preliminary engineering design for new wastewater treatment secondary improvements and get good cost estimates that we can use in a future rate study. And that will really help identify what kind of process and what kind of treatment for the secondary treatment that we're going to be employing in this new treatment plant. And then also occurring the latter part of this year, in mid-year to through next year, is a user classification study. So this would be looking at our current rate, that schedule that I just showed a minute ago, and seeing if we can expand that and make sure that those rates and how we charge and our customers is fair across the board. We have a fixed rate schedule right now, which it's a design where we don't bill based on water consumption. We bill based on anticipated strength and volumetrics. So this will be, we'll get information from the water company, do a volumetric analysis, and this will be a very good exercise that I'm actually really looking forward to. And then with all those things, we'll plug that into a new comprehensive wastewater rate study that will occur sometime in October 26 to March 2027. We're anticipating. So with the new cost estimates, that should be a more accurate cost estimate with preliminary engineering. We'll have a good idea what the regulations, if we get any relief from that or what we need to do. Regional partnerships should be, able to be accounted for in those. If we bring ash on, for instance, that's a big one for us. And then, that user classification study will also be programmed into that comprehensive rate study. So there's a lot of work that is planned for the wastewater program in the upcoming years. Next slide, please. So with that, I'll go to the recommendations tonight to conduct a public hearing to receive all written and verbal testimony regarding the proposed wastewater sewer rates and consider the results of protest proceedings in accordance with Prop 218. And this is usually, we take a public hearing and then the clerk will, count the protest and then report back. And then once that's done, second recommendation is to adopt one of the following resolutions certifying the protest results. So if it is a non-majority protest, draft resolution A and the staff report has been drafted certifying that the number of valid written protests were not received from property owners representing a majority of the parcels subject to the proposed rate increase. Or if a majority protest exists, draft resolution B certifying the number of valid written protests were received from property owners representing a majority of parcels subject to the proposed rate increases. And then if that non-majority protest is determined, the council may proceed with adopting draft resolution C, which will approve the proposed wastewater rates effective July 10th, 2025. So this is done by resolution, and it typically goes into effect 30 days after adoption of the resolution. And with that, I can turn this back over to you, Mayor Burbo, and take any questions the council has.
All right, thank you. Do any members of the city council have questions for staff regarding the report? Councilmember Funk.
Just following up on your report, you mentioned that part of the, what we'll ultimately be planning for is an expansion that will include ash folded into that. Is it the intention that ash, like any other new customers, won't have to pay their fair share of the cost of building the capacity to accommodate them?
Yeah, so that'll be a negotiation with ash that we're in right now. And, at a minimum, we have a capacity charge for any new customers or a change in use. And the wastewater rate analysis actually had, as I mentioned on the April 22nd meeting in your report, there was an increase for that as well, the capacity charge. So this is a charge to new customers or existing customers that have a change in their use, like say, for instance, from a commercial building that becomes a restaurant or something like that, that they have to pay towards the public improvements in the capital projects for the wastewater system. So ash will be subject to that as well. They're, just so you know, based on their strength and flow, they've been determined to be 913 EDUs.
Okay, so it's like adding 115 houses to bring them on.
Equivalent to 913 homes.
915 houses. Okay.
Yes.
Yes,
think it's-
thank you.
That would be a
And,
discussion, the
thank you.
detail on that would be a discussion for down the road, though, when we actually
Yes.
get, okay. Because I would have a lot of questions about treating them just like a giant apartment complex. I think there's a lot more to it than that.
Yes.
But that wouldn't affect what we do here tonight. So, okay, any other questions of staff by council? Mayor Pro Tem Daris.
Thank you. Just a clarification on this, on these recommendations. So if a non-majority protest exists, are we adopting resolution A and C?
Correct.
All right, that's all I needed.
Yeah,
'Cause I was going to ask then, what's the difference between the two? But I thought I understood it correctly. Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Peak?
Yeah, on the subject of the ad hoc committee, who is eligible to be on this committee? And I think for the general public to know what the qualifications, if any, there are to be on that committee, and if it's something that someone can approach city staff or one of us to be included.
Sure. I think we're looking for a committee that's workable. It's going to be some time. The meetings will probably be 90 minutes to 2 hours. We'll have 5 to 6 meetings starting in July. We're looking for restaurateurs, apartment owners, a couple single-family homeowners that are attached to the wastewater system, that sort of thing. And I think if people are interested, you can email me, jlewis@atascadero.org. We're looking for people who really want to engage and, one, understand the issues and the concerns, and two, be creative in helping us find solutions. We don't assume that we have all the solutions, and so we're looking forward to really engaging the committee. Thanks for asking.
Okay, any other council questions? Okay, seeing none, we're going to open this up to public comment. In the meantime, I believe the clerk will be ensuring that the results are tabulated. So would any member of the public wish to speak on this item, please approach the podium.
I guess this thing's ready to go. My name's Robert Chatfield. I live on Atascadero Avenue. My question is, on the screen I just saw, it said they sent out ballots. I didn't see no ballot. It was on the screen a minute ago. Where was the ballot?
We'll address that question when you finish your remarks.
Well, I know they use 218 to hide behind. I know. I understand that, but it just kind of frustrates you. It's the things they're trying to do to you. You know, they hide behind 218.
Okay, thank you, sir. And I believe that the answer is that a notification was sent out to each household connected to the sewer with the instructions on how to file a protest if they desired, is the answer. So it was not a ballot, technically speaking, but it was a notification with the instructions on how to protest. So, okay, any other member of the public wishing to speak, please approach the podium now. Okay, seeing none, we will close public comment and bring it back here and I'll ask the city clerk, have you had enough time to tabulate the results?
Yes, Mayor, thank you.
Okay, and what are the results? How many protests were submitted?
There were 6 submitted, so a majority protest does not exist.
Right, because the majority would be 2,600 or something,
Yes.
2,700?
Much larger number, yes.
Got it. Okay, so that being the case, we have a non-majority protest situation. Are there any council comments regarding the subject, wishing to discuss it? Or do we have a motion to approve recommendation 2A? And are we going to do a separate motion regarding 3? Okay, so we have a motion, any discussion or a motion for recommendation 2A?
I'll move to adopt 2A, draft resolution certifying that the number of valid written protests were not received from property owners to represent a majority of the parcels.
Okay, and the resolution which enacts the rates, correct? Yeah.
Oops, I'm sorry, just 2A.
Right.
3 would be to enact the rates.
Okay. Oh, I see. Just for clarification, we're just certifying the protests. Number 3, the recommendation 3 is the actual adoption then. So we're just, okay, thank you for your motion then. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Dares, a second by Councilmember Funk. Any discussion?
I just wanted to, I was trying to get in before you motioned. In terms of the current increase that would be on this tax bill, how much of that is into sunk cost? I think it's important for the public to know how much, this is one increase. This is like setting into motion, the process. But the need for this increase and kind of the sunk costs, kind of where we're at with that, it's in a difficult position raising rates on anybody or taxes on anybody. Just want to make sure that that's clear to the public that are listening or reading this transcript.
I think I could try and share with you that the increase in cost in this next year that the wastewater fund experiences and electricity costs and other things that we all have is barely covered, but the cost to the plant that are required for modifications and upgrades to keep it running exceed this increase. So year to year, the fund balance of the fund actually diminishes even with this increase. So I appreciate you asking that question.
And the ad hoc committee would have a good hand in discussing the furtherance moving forward. We're also looking into lots of other options as discussed by Nick, but just wanted to make sure that that's on the record, that That's good enough for me for now.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And I think that's probably actually better for the next one, because as Mayor Pro Tem was trying to allude to when he made the motion, this particular motion is strictly about certifying that we have a non-majority protest. The next motion would be the actual rate increase. So, I mean, good question, but, okay. So with that, let's call the roll on this first motion.
Councilmember Funk,
Yes.
Councilmember Newsom. Yes. Councilmember Peak,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Daris,
Yes.
Mayor Bobo.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, with that, we'll move on to recommendation number 3, recommendation to adopt the draft resolution, which actually approves the proposed wastewater rates effective July 10th this year.
So I guess I'll make the second motion here to, let's see, to adopt draft resolution C, approving the proposed wastewater rate increase starting July 10th, 2025.
Okay, thank you. Do you have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Daris, a second by Councilmember Funk.
Brief comment.
Any discussion? Oh,
Yeah, I just
okay.
wanted to note that staff has given us extensive briefings on the wastewater treatment plant future and asked a lot of decisions. And we see that, also see in the budget that we'll look at later today, what Manager Lewis was just talking about, that even with this increase, the fund balance for the wastewater treatment goes down below $5 million and decreases this year because the rising costs and the additional costs needed to try and find a better solution long-term are more than this increase of $8.91 a month for single-family homes, more than it will cover. So we know it's hard. It's never fun. But it is a necessary piece, this year, and I'm convinced is necessary.
Okay, with that, let's go to the roll call, please.
Councilmember Funk,
Yes.
Councilmember Newsom,
Yes.
Councilmember Peak,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Daris,
Yes.
Mayor Bobo.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, thank you. And with that, we will proceed down to item H2, downtown parking and business improvement area assessment confirmation for the annual assessment for fiscal year 25-26. And I believe we're going to turn this over to our Deputy Director of Economic Development, Economic and Community Development, Lorelei Capel. Where's it, Capel? I'm sorry, Lorelei, it's Capel.
Thank you. All right, tonight we are here to talk a little bit about the downtown parking business and improvement area. Just a little bit of history. This is an assessment that was voted upon by the business owners in our downtown area, which is generally bounded by Highway 41 and Rosario to the east and west, or to the north and south, really, and 101 to Capistrano, the east and west. And this is a $50 assessment that really comes from their, when they register for their business license. And there's an additional fee for how many employees you have. So if you're a hotel, that would increase by $5 per part-time and $10 per full-time employee. So that money is collected. We contract with the Chamber of Commerce, and the city levies the funds, and the Chamber of Commerce acts as the manager of those funds, and the businesses request those funds for things that they need pertaining to the downtown. This includes updating our kiosks, planning things like the downtown art hop. They can request funds for things like that. And right now they're working currently on string lights for Entrada, and they're working all kind of together on the downtown block party, which is also very exciting. So really that this was established back in 1986 as a BIA. Last month, we came to you to talk a little bit about the resolution of intent and what they will do with those funds for the future. Really, we're partnering with the Chamber of Commerce on the expenditure of that. The Chamber of Commerce has said that they anticipate collecting about $14,500, and that's usually what seems to come in over the year with all of the business licenses, and they'll be using those for events, beautification, marketing, administration. The details are in staff reports, specifically things like creating a downtown Atascadero website, and monitoring that and maintaining that in the future. And again, lighting up string lights on Entrada, which there'll be probably coming in the next fiscal year to install. So with that, we make the recommendation to council is to adopt a draft resolution confirming the annual assessment for the downtown parking and business improvement area for fiscal year 2025 and 2026. And I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
All right, thank you. Does any member of council have a question for staff? And I note Mr. Cross from the Chamber of Commerce is here and is probably willing to answer a question if the question is more appropriately directed to him. So any member of council have a question? Okay, I have a question. That is the 31,000 in beautification miscellaneous. That's significant in the sense that that's more than 1 year's money's built up in order to achieve this. What is is it a singular $31,000 project or is it
It is
multiple things?
For the lighting of Entrada at this point that includes the poles, the strings, the lighting, and
The stuff
all of
you
the
mentioned.
process, including the engineering for that project too.
Okay, excellent. Okay, seeing if there's no other questions, let's open this up to public comment. If any member of the public would like to speak on this item, please approach the podium. Okay, seeing none, we will bring it back to council for any discussion or a motion.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion by Councilmember Funk and a second by Councilmember Newsom. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Funk,
Yes.
Councilmember Newsom,
Yes.
Councilmember Peak,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Daris,
Yes.
Mayor Warbo.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Excellent. Okay, thank you. With that, we will move on to item H3, Atascadero Tourism Business Improvement District, confirmation of annual assessment for 2025, 2026, and they've switched chairs, and we're going to go back to Community Services and Promotion Director Terry Banish for this item.
Thank you. Thank you, Council. Thank you, Mayor. Tonight, we're looking at the adoption of the annual assessment of the Atascadero Tourism Business Improvement District. The city of Atascadero established the Atascadero Tourism Business Improvement District, referred to as APBID, to levy our annual assessments under the Parking and Business Improvement Area Law of 1989 by adopting Atascadero Municipal Code, Chapter 16 in April 2013. The activities to be funded by the assessments on lodging businesses within the APBID are designated as promotions and marketing programs designed to promote the city as a tourism destination. It is required that the advisory board provide a specific report to city council annually for the expenditure of funds derived from the assessment and are paid by lodging businesses within the city. These levies are adopted annually or provided in the annual report presented on May 13th. What you're looking at in front of you on the fiscal impact, the APBID assessment revenue for 25-26 is expected to be approximately $510,800, which includes the assessment increase from the 2 to the 2.5%. That started on January 9th of 2025. The assessment increase of 0.5% is focused on improvements to the zoo and adjacent areas in Lake Park to drive events, tourism, and additional hotel stays. Expenses are expected to be $503,680. The recommendation this evening is to adopt the draft resolution confirming the annual business improvement district assessment on lodging businesses within the Atascadero Tourism Business Improvement District for the fiscal year of 25-26. Any questions?
Okay, does any member of the council have any question for staff? Okay, seeing none, let's open this up to the public, see if any member of the public would like to comment on this item. If so, please approach the podium. Okay, seeing none, we will bring it back to council for any discussion or a motion.
I'll move.
Approval.
Approval, yeah.
Okay. Okay, and
I'll second.
okay, we have a motion by Councilmember Peak and a second by Councilmember Funk. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Peak,
Yes.
Councilmember Funk,
Yes.
Councilmember Newsom,
Yeah.
Mayor Pro Tem Daris,
Yes.
Mayor Warbo.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, thank you. With that, we will move on to item H4, assessments within the Apple Valley Assessment District. I'm not sure who we're turning this over to. I'm going to guess Ms. Jerry Rangel, our Administrative Services and Finance Director.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor and Council. Tonight, we are presenting 3 public hearings for you. regarding our assessment districts. I'd like to go over a little common information and common background on them first, and then we will address each of the hearings separately. So council's longstanding policy is that new development should pay for itself. Part of that policy requires that developers put in a mechanism to pay for items such as road maintenance and the maintenance of common landscape areas. Developers had the option of forming either a homeowners association or an assessment district. But the developers for Apple Valley, De Anza Estates, and Las Lomas, formerly known as Woodridge, all decided to form assessment districts. This is not a general tax to the citizens of Atascadero, but only applies to the properties in these developments. The CPI used for this is the all urban consumers for the San Francisco, Oakland, Hayward area from February to February. For all three areas we are discussing tonight, there are a total of 6 assessment districts. Because of the way that assessment district law works, each area is generally required to have 2 different assessment districts, one for landscaping and lighting and the other for streets and storm drains. A public hearing must be held annually to adopt these levies. The general fund does contribute a small amount for public benefit. Staff evaluated the short and long-term costs for both districts in Apple Valley and proposed the levy stays the same as before. So $550 for the benefit assessment district and $900 a year for the landscape and lighting district. And this concludes my report on Apple Valley, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you. Do we have any questions from council of staff? Okay, we'll open it up to the public. Any member of the public wishing to comment on the Apple Valley Assessment District? Please approach the podium. Okay, seeing none, we'll return this to council for any discussion or a motion.
Move approval of staff recommendation.
Second.
I'll move approval of staff recommendation.
Yes,
Which
okay.
includes a set of draft resolutions.
Right, resolutions A through D.
Yeah.
Understand. Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I'm going to go with Councilmember Peak on that. It's a tie. We have a motion by Councilmember Funk and a second by Councilmember Peak. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Funk?
Yes.
Councilmember Peak?
Yes.
Councilmember Newsom?
Yeah.
Mayor Pro Tem Daris?
Yes.
Mayor Verbo?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, with that, we will move on to item H6, which is a very similar item for Las Lomas Assessment District. Also, Deanza, well, H5, yeah, I'm sorry. We'll move forward to H5, which is Deanza Assessment District. And you don't have to repeat everything you said. Anything specific about Deanza?
Thank you very much. Staff did evaluate short and long-term costs again for both of these districts and determined that the levy should be the same as the prior year, $342 a year for the Area A in Deanza for the street and storm drain area and for the street and storm drain area. Can't even read this right now. And then for Area B in the street and storm drain district, it would be $681.50 per EBU, and then $275 a year for the lighting and landscape district. So that is a small increase of $50 over the prior year. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, any questions of staff by council? Okay, seeing none, we'll open this up to public comment. Anybody wishing to comment on this item, please approach the podium.
Jeff Hoslin, resident. I see a $25 increase, not a 50. I'm trying to figure that out. Thanks.
Okay, any other member of the public wishing to comment on this item? Okay, seeing them, we'll bring it back. Jerry, could you please address that question?
Yes, I misspoke on that. I'm
Okay,
sorry, that is a
yeah.
$25.
Very good. Okay, yes, because the slide shows $25 increase. So, okay, thank you very much. With that, bring it back to council. Any discussion or motion? Oops, question from Mayor Pro Tem Daris.
Just one quick question. So there's obviously a small increase of $25. When was the last time increases were made for these particular assessments? And you can, if you don't mind, you can answer for all three. Even the one we haven't spoken. I'm just curious, how often do we get increases?
We tried to, several years back, kind of standardize the road program a little bit more with Public Works and Director DeBar kind of standardize that piece. So we really put that out and tried to balance those so that the levies wouldn't be adjusting every year so that we could give something more dependable to the residents. So for the last handful of years, maybe 4 years or so, I'm going to say they've been pretty consistent, with the exception of Las Lomas District that does go up by CPI every year.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion or we have a motion?
I'll move to accept, to adopt the resolutions as stated by staff.
Okay.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Dares, a second by Councilmember Funk. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Funk,
Yes.
Councilmember Newsom,
Yes.
Councilmember Peak,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Dares,
Yes.
Mayor Bobo.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Now, with that, we will move forward to item H6, Las Lomas Assessment Districts. Again, Ms. Rangel.
Thank you again. As I was just indicated, the levies for both of the districts and Las Lomas are being increased by CPI of 2.7% when compared to the prior year. Back in 2017, we had a neighborhood meeting to discuss the issue of funding the roads for road maintenance in that district. The majority of the homeowners at that time in attendance at the meeting were very strongly opposed to contributing to or setting aside for some of the bigger, longer term projects. The proposed street and storm drain district levy of $450 is sufficient only for kind of current operating and shorter term slurry seals and routine maintenance of the roads. The residents were informed about this, that in some time that they would need to have a more in-depth road maintenance project that would require more significant funding. The residents were also informed that the homeowners would be responsible for those repairs and that the proposed levy at the $450 would not be sufficient for that project. Before that time, expected to be in about 33, 34, the district would need to come together to figure out a funding mechanism for that work that is estimated to be somewhere in the $1 million range. A notice was recently sent out to the property owners in the district, again, sharing this information. Staff has concerns about the long-term maintenance of the streets in the district and want to make sure that every effort to ensure that the neighbors have all of the detailed information that they need to make an opinion on this issue. Staff also is trying to compromise with the desires of the district to keep the near-term costs down, and thus is recommending the levy at $450 per EBU for the street district and $337 a year for the landscape and lighting district. A notice of assessment on each parcel in the district was included in this agenda for transparency. And this concludes my report on Las Lomas, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, I actually have a question on this because you've made, good note of this, that, this amount of money is not going to be enough for the down the road, when the road substantially goes downhill. This is only going to kind of go for surface treatments over the years. And the community was made aware of that, certainly in the past. When is the last time, there's been either any sort of meeting or direct notification of that fact to the neighborhood?
They are mailed something annually, about in the March, April timeframe. Okay. So that is mailed annually, and there's something recorded on the deeds as well.
Okay, got it. And so is that then the case that anybody new moving in would see that or would have that information available to them on their deed? Right. Okay, all right, thank you. Any other council questions of staff? Councilmember Funk.
Yeah, I think as all of us did, we received one public comment question on that. So let me just ask from a resident who was opposed to this CPI increase in Las Lomas. A couple of questions from the resident. There's money for tree rehabilitation if that, and you mentioned earlier in your presentation that the city does make a small contribution to these funds to support general benefit. So if there's maintenance of trees or things that are on a public use pathway or public use area, that would be something that the city is already contributing the money for. Is that correct?
Correct. The city does contribute for kind of the operations piece and then kind of the replacement piece for things that need to be replaced at some point for the pathway.
Okay, and then the resident also noted that occasionally there are leaks in the irrigation system, as all of us who have irrigation systems sometimes find. My husband's been busy plugging leaks in ours. If a resident notices a leak, they always occur when, the resident is not watching, or whoever can fix the leak is not watching. Who should they contact if they observe that there's a leak so that can get fixed?
I can answer that. They could either call Public Works Maintenance at 805-470-3148, or they could email pwops@atascadero.org and make those reports, and we'll get out there and check it out.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions of staff? Okay, seeing none, let's open this up to the public and see if any member of the public has a question. Okay, seeing no one approach, we'll bring it back to the council for discussion or a motion. Motion?
I'll make a motion to, oops. I'll move to approve the recommendation as written by staff.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Dares, a second by Councilmember Funk. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Funk?
Yes.
Councilmember Newsom?
Yes.
Councilmember Peak?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Dares?
Yes.
Mayor Robo?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right, thank you. That we are moving on to item I1, which is a management report regarding our 2025-2027 operating budget. This little quick read right here. Let's see if we can get this. Yeah, there we go. I don't know how many pages that is, but several hundred. But for this item, we will turn this discussion again over to our Administrative Services Director, Jerry Rangel.
Thank you again, Mayor and Council. It is 472 PDF pages, by the way.
Thank you.
I'm going to turn this over for a moment to City Manager Lewis to start us off.
Thank you, Director Engel. I first want to share my utmost thanks to Director Engel and her team sitting out there. Thank you, ladies, Cindy and Dawn, and the whole team on the second floor for working 7 days a week, countless hours that they probably really don't want to know, and putting together a very responsible, very thoughtful budget. And I really thank you all for your dedication and sacrifice this last several weeks. I'm sorry you had to work that much, but your community and the council appreciate it. Thank you. I want to go over the first few slides high level before I turn it back over to Director Engel. This year, I think themes are important. And I know we haven't had a theme for our budget here before, but I think as there's so much uncertainty in the world and in our state, and other communities are starting to see softening in their finances and their revenues, and are going to have to make some pretty tough decisions. People are having to make tough decisions personally. I thought it was important that we share that our budget, which has always been fiscally responsible, conservative, and prudent, is investing in our future. There are real investments in the budget you're going to see tonight, new investments in public safety, economic development, public works, streets, our neighborhoods. But they're investments with stability. They're investments we confidently can make that promote our future stability. And they're thoughtful investments. After talking with you in a very engaged meeting with the council a couple months ago that I'll speak to, our team, talking with the community, we are investing in our future with stability and foresight, always working together to serve, build community, and enhance quality of life. And I feel very confident that the document we're submitting to you tonight achieves that. Next slide, please. You can see here that there is a very significant process. I won't go through that, but really this starts by gathering information, looking at programs, program assessments, talking with community members, feeding information from the community on our kind of annual report, our progress, sharing with you all our objectives and goals and how we did, moving into a strategic planning process that we did earlier this year, affirming priorities as they relate to our vision, and then actually establishing a work plan that the council adopted back in April. That was a very clear direction of work. We took that work plan and put it towards our department resources, our staffing, the resources and dollars we have, actually fleshed out a budget that reflects that work plan. And then we went through the finance committee, had a robust discussion. You can hear from a couple of those members later, and now we bring it to you. So it is a very thoughtful budget that has had many eyes on it, and I'm really pleased to submit it. I think you'll see that the goals that the council focused on are key priorities, and this was the lens by which, and you'll see the budget is largely very similar to the last 2-year budget. I think in this day and time, it's not time to make significant major investments in growing staff or trying new radical programs or anything like that. It's the time to be stable, as we just said, and move steady as we invest in our community. But as we did look at what resources may have freed up, or if programs were ending and we had something, these are the 3 things that the council established that were the key lens that I asked directors to submit programs to me through. Does it enhance economic and community vibrancy? Does it contribute to our fiscal sustainability and our infrastructure's sustainability? Does it make us more efficient? That was a question I asked many of the directors, because if it does make us more efficient, that frees up staff time without having staff salary. And I think that was really important. We have a very lean, hardworking staff, and I'm so grateful to them for always wanting to do just a little more, but they need a tool or a software or something to do that just a little more. And so we looked at that, and then ensuring our public safety and our services are exceptional. And I believe that that is true, and this budget continues to fund them at that level. So high level, those are some statements I wanted to make. We're very pleased to submit this to you. And now for the nitty gritty, Director Engel will tell you what is in the budget.
Thank you very much, City Manager Lewis. So I would like to just start by saying the primary focus of tonight's discussion will be on the general fund. It is the city's primary operating fund and the main focus for tonight. Sales tax measure F14 is also part of the general fund. However, in order to be transparent about the receipts and revenues that come through on the F14 expenses, we have separated those out for the budget purposes, and they are in a separate section here in the budget. The F14 funds are included in the general fund for financial statement purposes. So that's a little bit of a difference between the financial statements and the budget. Sales tax measure D20 funds are also general fund revenues, and they are included in all of the general fund discussions tonight. The pie chart represents the general fund revenues. Property tax revenues are the single largest source of general fund revenues and are expected to make up about 39% of total general fund revenues for the 2-year cycle. Property tax revenues are based on underlying property values, and thus these revenues are the most stable source of revenues for us. Current year secured property taxes are those taxes based on assessed valuation of properties as of January 1st of each year, and usually represent about 65 to 75% of city's total property tax revenue. Current secured are projected to increase about 4.9% in 25-26 and about 6.6% in 26-27 due to the increases in economic development around town. Overall, property tax revenues are projected to be $14 million in 25-26 and $14.9 million in 26-27. The base sales tax rate in California is 7.25, but Atascadero's rate is 8.75, which includes the half-cent measure F14, soon to be L14, and 1% D20 and the essential service tax. Sales tax is inherently volatile, and it's significantly influenced by state and local and national economies. In Atascadero, about 70% of our sales tax revenues are collectively generated from the sales of fuel, the state and county pools, building and construction, and restaurants. The Bradley Burns and sales tax measure D20 revenues combined are the second largest general fund revenue source, representing about 32% of the general fund. Staff has projected about a 4.3 increase in Bradley Burns sales tax revenue for a total of about 4.8 million in 25-26 and an increase of 4% or 5.2 million in 26-27. Some of the other general fund revenues include transient occupancy tax, TOT, building permit activity, other taxes, and service fees. TOT, of course, is collected from guests staying in our hotels with a rate of 14%, 10% of which goes back to the general fund. Atascadero is really growing as a tourist destination with nice weather, fun events, popular industries such as craft breweries and cideries. But the Central Coast area is seeing a big increase in lodging establishments, especially in the North County. And many more hotel rooms will be coming available within the next few years, which kind of tends with all of that extra supply to destabilize the rates in the short run. Additionally, tourism and fuel prices are unpredictable in the current environment. For that reason, TOT revenues are projected to increase only a soft 1.5% in 25-26 to 2 million. And for 26-27, growth is expected to correct somewhat, and staff is projecting year-over-year increases to reach 4.5%, with revenues equaling 2.2 million. Revenues for permits, fees, and development are generated from construction permits, encroachment permits, grading fees, plan check fees, and other building permits associated with development. The city has seen a steady increase in building activity, and there continues to be high levels of both commercial and residential activity, with many large projects in various levels of planning and development currently. Because of this, revenues for fiscal year 25-26 are projected to be about 1.6 million and then 1.68 million in the following year. Development revenues are expected to continue to be in excess of 1.6 million for each year through 29-30. Other tax revenues are budgeted at about 2 million in each of the next fiscal years and include things like property transfer taxes, business licenses, cannabis tax, and franchise tax revenues. These were projected based on historical trends and expected future trends in different industries for each of these revenue types. Service fee revenues encompass many of the different reimbursable costs for city-provided services. Service revenues are projected to be right around the 2.64 million in 25-26 and 2.76 million in 26-27. Employee services are the backbone of our community. We are a service organization. So the largest part of the general fund expenditures is dedicated to employee services. 68% of the average general fund expenditures for the budget cycle will go toward the cost of employees. And this is very typical for a government. The budget includes the council-approved 3-year labor agreements, the MOUs, and all of those increases. All MOUs expire on June 30th, 2027. When approving these MOUs, the city invested resources geared toward making salaries competitive in order to retain and attract professional employees to serve our community. The budget includes step increases where applicable and an additional 3% cost of living increase for most positions for each of those years, as indicated in the MOUs. It also includes projected increase to CalPERS retirement, healthcare, and workers' compensation costs. City Manager Lewis, would you like to address this slide?
I would. Thank you very much. So I did want to highlight for the council, while there are no new ongoing staff positions in the budget, you did work with us for the zoo and add a zookeeper maintenance worker on a basis for the zoo as a grant up front that the zoo is working to raise enough money to cover those costs over the period of 3 years, if you remember that. So, but aside from that, there is no general funded positions new in the budget. But I did want to speak to 4 positions that I believe a reclassification is due. As I shared with you about efficiency and looking at where people with better supervision or refocus or more support could be more effective in their work and get more work done, we took a look at that. And I think really it was boiled down to making sure we have accountability in a second in some key positions. The first at the wastewater treatment plant, as we've been spending an inordinate amount of time focused on that, it became clear to me there is not a number 2 person working at the wastewater treatment plant. I know, or an assistant, and that the wastewater operator, the director there, can leave for training or can leave for, I know somebody thought that was funny, that's good, leave for training or vacation, or if there, God forbid, is a situation having a designated person who is the next lead operator. And so I am recommending for just licensing and best practices, we have a wastewater lead operator, upgrading that position from a wastewater operator 2. We have lead workers in parks and streets, but unfortunately, our maintenance superintendent has 13 direct reports, and he's asked to manage a number of contracts. That ends up being so difficult, it's hard to focus on any one thing or contract or. And so enhancing these positions to supervisors where there'll be a person actually not just responsible for being a lead worker on these crews, but managing contracts, evaluations, implementing programs, that will free up the maintenance manager to think forward and actually engage in renegotiating contracts, looking at whether contracts are actually necessary or not, special projects, a lot of these things that time is really important for. So I am recommending lead workers be promoted to supervisors, 2 positions. And finally, I think in an operation, we're a $70 million operation with nearly 150 full-time employees. Wow, who has 150 million employees? I think it's important to have a designated vice president to the corporation or a person who is responsible and in charge when I'm not here as city manager. We have that person. She's sitting to my left, and she's named a deputy city manager, but she is the assistant city manager. She is the person that is responsible for this organization in my absence. She does provide encouragement to directors, support to directors, and then may sometimes have to tell directors where things need to be if she's helping me on things. That's very rare. But that assistant manager position is the person who does that. Also is important regionally on things when we're discussing animal services and ambulance provisions, these other things that I am involved in, but there are many committees she's involved in, and those are staffed by the assistant city managers that show that person's position in the organization and the authority they have. And so I'm also recommending that Ms. Christensen be promoted to assistant city manager, and that is a pretty common position now in our county, especially for cities of our size. And that recognizes the work that she does to be responsible not only for major projects like our safety center, but our legislative advocacy, community engagement, risk management, for managing our office, the city clerk function, and on and on and on. So that is certainly a reclassification I support as well. These will be at the meeting on June 24th because there's some resolution work, there's some SEIU side letters, there's a contract that's required for some of these things. But I did want to speak to them this evening to be very clear in the budget. Those are the reclassifications I'm recommending. And they're all very valid, and it'll be terrific for the employees who are able to fill the positions. Thank you, Ms. Rangel. Go ahead.
Thank you, City Manager Lewis. I'd like to go ahead on general fund expenditures for operating cost. These are expenditures related to regular operations of the departments, include things like supplies, tools, utilities, insurance, contract services, and other similar items. Each year, as the budget's being prepared, we set a target kind of increase or flat for these. So this cycle, we set a target of 1% increase in each of the years. So which again is very slim if you think about CPI is 2 point something. So the supplemental budget requests were made by each departments for specific items that could not be accommodated otherwise in each of these budgets. Some of the requests for items are things that are necessary obligations of the city, and others are for things that might either enhance efficiencies, reduce costs, or be effective in other ways. The general fund operating expenses are projected to be 9.9 million in 25-26 and 10.3 million in 26-27. In addition to that 1% operational cost increase, some supplemental requests were included in the draft budget before you tonight. And these include items such as increases in utilities, regulatory requirements like OSHA turnout gear inspections, software programs to make us more efficient, investments in our staff's professional development and training, and contract services for things like cybersecurity and plan checks. It also includes increases for insurance costs. Special and capital projects are those that are either atypical or one-time or not part of the city's regular operations. These are evaluated each cycle and funded to the extent that we can. Some of the special and capital projects that are include equipment, software projects, and others. Since 1998, the city has worked diligently to put aside extra funds for replacement reserves. The budget does include annual replacement reserves for technology and vehicles and a set aside of $1.8 million annually for the public safety facilities project. This is way too small to read on the screen, but I just want to call your attention to it, that there is a 7-page projection for general fund on page B11 of the budget document. The projection allows us to look ahead and make sure that we have a solid and sustainable plan now and for the future. It is also important to continually monitor the level of reserves and ensure that there are funds available for the future. B11 includes activity from Measure D20, but does not include revenues from F14. This reserve graph shows the available general fund reserves as a percentage of general fund expenditures. The council's general policy is to keep the percentage at or above 20%, which is the horizontal line there. The 7-year projection estimates that we will not drop below 30.6% for the next 7 years. The current projections are compliant with the city council reserve policy. The spike in reserve you see in this graph is largely related to some one-time items. These figures do not reflect any of the F14 funds. And as always, the staff will continue to monitor this to make sure that we have adequate reserves in place. Pages G11 through G14 of your budget list capital projects proposed in this 2-year cycle. Over $58 million in investments in our community are included, with downtown infrastructure enhancement, road projects, public safety center, and wastewater projects among the largest. Sales tax Measure F14 funds are included, of course, in a separate portion of the document as discussed earlier for clarity and transparency. A complete list of roads that are scheduled for some level of repairs are listed in the budget document, beginning on page F2. Revenues are expected to be $6.7 million over the budget cycle, and expenses are projected to be $5.8 million. Through the use of Measure F14 funds, staff has been able to use critical point management methodology to improve the condition of the city's roads. This has been successful, and the city has seen an increase in pavement condition from 50 to 55. Atascadero voters cast their ballot in favor of sales tax Measure L24, which will extend Measure F14 when it expires. L24 will continue, allow us to continue the road repair for neighborhood streets. As we discussed earlier, the wastewater system is a very large and capital intensive system. It's very expensive to maintain and requires consistent investment and upgrades. The wastewater system operations and projects are funded through user fees, as is typical of a utility service. Unfortunately, the system has been underfunded and has not been maintained or expanded as it should have been. The system needs to be updated due primarily to capacity issues, replacement costs, and regulatory issues. The budget assumes 18.5% increases in user rates in each of the fiscal years. As staff, council, and the community and city partners work toward a sustainable solution. The city is looking into grants and other government funding sources, legislative relief, and symbiotic partnerships to implement smart solutions to address these costs. Staff is also recommending that the council adopt amendments to the 24-25, the current year budget. These adjustments are primarily transfers between funds. So those large $6 million figures there are transfers from the Building Maintenance Fund into the newly created Public Safety Facilities Fund for our new facilities. It also includes some transfer RSHA money for the Downtown Infrastructure Enhancement Project, some T-bid projects, capital projects for the Atascadero Creek retaining wall, and closeout of the 2010 bond proceeds to use on the maiden statues in the park. The fiscal strategy has really provided the city a strong framework from which to operate. The strategy has allowed the city to maintain stable service levels throughout the years, even in the face of the twists and turns in the economy, and puts us in the right position to be able to invest in our future with stability and foresight. Sales tax measure D20 is providing vital city services that further our three key priorities. The budget is effective and smart and makes the best use of our limited resources. General fund reserves remain sufficient even in the long term. This budget provides the organization with the direction and the tools necessary to pursue key priorities and help the city continue to thrive. The budget is a result of cooperative efforts with the council, thank you, the community, the finance committee, and the city's extremely hardworking staff. I want to extend my appreciation for all of the efforts to put this plan together under the leadership of City Manager Lewis. The finance team worked a lot of long hours too, so I appreciate all the work that they did as well, and all their commitment. We can all work great together as a team, and we are successful as a result. And that concludes my report, and I'm happy to address any questions.
All right, thank you, Ms. Rangel, and also thank you to your staff putting together a document this thick, hundreds of pages, and having everything cross-check and all that is quite a lot of work, and we really do appreciate it because it has to be done this way. And even for a finance guy like me, though, it gets a little dry. So, but I did want to point out to anybody who's really curious or perhaps in need of a sleep aid, this is available in its entirety on our website, right? For anybody who wants to dig
Yes,
into
it
it.
is.
Got it. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Also, so we're going to go to council questions. All of us on council have had an opportunity to sit down with Ms. Rangel or Mr. Lewis and ask questions regarding the budget. I had about 20 questions myself. So you've all had that opportunity, but are there any other new questions you'd like to ask or anything that for a particular reason you'd like to ask in public of staff? Starting on my left. Nope. You have one? Okay.
I've got a couple, and I do want to thank staff for Ms. Rangel and Ms. Christensen and Mr. Lewis for all sitting down and working through extensively. You know, there's a lot of questions to go through in a document like this, and appreciate all those. There's just a couple of them that I want to circle back on and clarify. One of them in the if you could throw up the 7-year projections again. You know, that bottom line number on the available percentage of reserves as percentages of expenses is one that ordinarily goes pretty steady. And one looks for that in terms of the health of a city, that it's, you know, it's pretty steady and goes and stays beyond a certain point. And one of the things we discussed is that, you know, it floated up after we got like ARPA money and that kind of thing in. It floated up really high and then dropped down to 15%, and then it's back to the 30s again. I just want to confirm again that if my understanding, that yo-yo type of effect there is strictly related to the timing of big chunks of money that we received to do big projects and that we spent for big projects like the downtown project.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, thank you. Let me grab a couple of others here. Sorry, I have to move the document through my tabs here. On G21, this is a local transportation fund item. I see that we've got El Camino Real at State Route 41 and US 101, and we're going to put $500,000 into that in 2025, 26 for the budget. Just clarifying that, am I right in understanding that this is separate from what we're doing with the state to demand that Caltrans fix the portions of Highway 41 where the pavement has gotten really wonky on the turn, if you're turning from 41 onto southbound 101. The constituent pointed this out to me, and it's quite a washboard. There's damage to the pavement, and maybe Mr. Lewis would like to address where that stands in terms of our getting Caltrans to do that piece of the work. And then we'll hear from staff about how this other piece that we're investing in is different from that.
Well, our Public Works Department did petition Caltrans, and what you have today is the repair. And I think that it's definitely better than it was, but perhaps Director DeBar can speak to the subsurface of that, and then where our investment with this money will go on El Camino Real, just south of 41. Maybe you can speak to those.
Sure. So the repair that occurred, we talked to Caltrans Maintenance, and they drug some cold mix through those areas underneath the 101 undercrossing and stuff, and pack that in, but it's not a long-term fix. So they're looking at a longer-term fix to do that. We'll continue to petition them because it is not a great look, coming into our city. So that'll be ongoing. So we'll keep on Caltrans to make sure that they keep 41 in good repair around the 101. This other project is actually on El Camino. So this is a section in front of the Vaughn Center. So, it looks like Caltrans right away. It acts like Caltrans right away with the 101 northbound off ramp and on ramp. That section actually is city maintained. So a lot of Caltrans portions are sometimes city maintained. For instance, like an overpass at Del Rio or San Anselmo. These agreements that cities have with Caltrans go back to the 1950s. And we actually maintain the roads up to the edge of the bridge deck, and they maintain the bridge. So we are on the hook for that. We're not on the hook for any ramps, but just the intersections that come up to it. So it's in that similar nature. We are responsible for that area. This project is that area between basically Highway 41 to around the A-Town Diner in that section.
Great. That is an area that does need some work. We all noticed. And I just want to make sure that the state's doing their bit and we're not having to pay their load. Okay. On E165 in the vehicle and equipment replacement, I see in fire vehicles, we've got $1 million item in 25, 26. Just want to confirm that we are in fact acquiring a fire engine.
Correct. Council did authorize that purchase a while back, so it has been purchased, it's on order, and so it will be paid for in the next cycle, assuming the council adopts the budget.
Very good. And is that one going to be stationed downtown or out in at Fire Station 2? Do we know? I'm looking at Mr. Benzon. Is the fire engine that's on order that we're going to be paying for in about a year?
It's 91, that's Station 1. 91 is Station 1 downtown.
Yeah, okay. That's a Station 1 item. Okay. And I think that will, I had one other question that was, that might have been the one that was new. If I find anything else urgent, I'll come back to it, but thank you very much. And I really appreciate, that the work of staff on this.
Okay, thank you. We're going to open this up to the public, see if any, sorry, Councilmember Newsom, you had a question.
Mine's not a question, mine's more along a comment. about the process. As the chair of the finance committee, it's always nice to listen to the department heads come into a finance committee meeting and talk about how all of you came together, shared all of your needs and worked through it and put it into this handy dandy little layout for us. I know it's always a challenge as we are very conservative with our funding to still operate a very efficient and growing organization. So thank you for your time and effort and working well together.
Thank you. Now let's go out to the public, see if there's any public comment on this item.
Good evening, Council. Jeff Oslin. Most of my questions were actually answered by Director Rangel earlier this evening. I think she's probably proud that somebody in the public actually reads 470 pages of this stuff, but I feel like I have an obligation, even though I'm not on the oversight committee for L24 and D20. I still look at the budgets, and there's a couple interesting things. I won't bore you too long, but they're very interesting to me anyways. If you look at the number of calls for service by our police department, it's about 22,000 a year. That's a lot of calls for service for a small town, and that is in the budget. To our neighbors in the north and our neighbors in the south, I'm proud to say that we average one parking ticket a month in the city of Atascadero. So you guys can continue to brag that we have a very good parking here and probably respectful people that actually park properly. That's a nice deal there. So that's on the public side of that. Then the other ones would be kind of confused on one question that I didn't ask in the operations. It's on B18. It's the utilities. We actually had an annual actual utility 2023, 2022, if you will, of $448,000 approximately. And we're saying 473 for this year, but next year's 544. And I would think that our utility bills actually should be a little less based on 3CE coming on. So I'm curious about that. Outside of that, for the staff that put this together, it's amazing. It's clear, it's concise. It has every budget out there for every department, salaries, total expenditures for the city. We're very conservative. And the planning department is basically the only budget that really didn't change for the next 3 years. It's pretty funny, actually. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the public wishing to comment on this item? Okay. Any very quick comment in response to the questions raised by Mr. Roslin, or do you just want to get together with him? See if you can answer his questions offline.
I'm happy to get together. Some of
Okay.
the utility
That-
issues were based on water.
Okay, that would be great. Thank you. And thank you for the comments, Mr. Roslin, and thank you for increasing the readership of our city budget. I'm sure Ms. Rangel does appreciate it. Yeah.
I did find
And
that
I'm going to bring it back, and then I did have a comment, but go ahead, Councilmember Funk.
Yeah, I found that other, the sticky with that other question. That was on page G16. The Via Avenue Bridge replacement. That project is all done. I mean, the bridge is there. It's gorgeous. It's really helpful. What is it that we're spending $128,000 a year on on an ongoing basis for that project?
So as part of this had federal funding. And so, and it was built in a creek, so we needed to do vegetation restoration on the banks. And part of that mitigation was a 5-year monitoring program where they ensured that it took root and, was successful. So we were required to have a 5-year monitoring program where they maintain it. So I think over that 5 years, it was like something like $750,000 for each bridge. So very expensive.
This is a federal program gone awry. I mean, this one irks me because there aren't a lot of landscapers that will bid and insure the plants and vegetation for 5 years. So this is one to point out that's just frustrating.
I think
I'm
it's
glad you
called
saw
the
it.
absurdity of some of the federal requirements we deal with. Yeah.
The good thing is that San Lucia Bridge is 100% covered by the federal grant, and Via Bridge is covered 88.53% or something like that. So the city pays very small portion of the Via Bridge.
So we can just feel aggravated as federal taxpayers, but not as city taxpayers.
Yeah.
Correct.
Perfect.
Okay, thank
Thank
you. I was going to have a comment, and then I'm going to ask for a motion, or if there's any discussion. As noted by the city manager and director Gallo, we do conservative budgeting in Atascadero, and that is, conservative estimates on revenue, and we don't lowball projected expenditures. So sometimes we are then pleasantly surprised that we, end the year better than we budgeted. And so that's what we do here, so we don't have nasty surprises. And it's worked effectively for our organization. But as a result, there's a lot of uncertainty, as noted, from the federal side, from the state side. A lot of cities are experiencing a downturn in tourism, which affects their hotel bed tax, et cetera, potentially sales tax. We think we're doing okay, but we didn't want to, go out there and spend money we don't know for sure we're going to get. So that being said, the city manager, in all those discussions with the staff, had to hold the line on requests for increases in various things. If we do better than expected, this is not locked in concrete. This is not a non-amendable document for 2 years. If the circumstances change and we're better off than we anticipated, we can relook things down the road. But it's very important, I think, for us to take this conservative approach to budgeting. It's why we've had steady reserves, and it's why we are in good financial shape, and especially good financial shape, even compared to some of the wealthier, higher revenue cities in our county. So I'm really pleased with the way we've done things, our city manager, our finance director and team, and all of our department heads who really come together and don't, try to outsmart each other to how to get another $100,000 up for their departmental budget, that sort of thing. So really appreciate the whole executive leadership team coming together to put together a sound, sensible budget. So with that, if there's any further discussion, I'll entertain a motion. Councilmember Funk.
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up on the mayor's comments and add my 2 cents, concur in that. And note that this is a very steady budget that keeps a focus on continuing the things that the council has asked the staff to start. We got a lot of big projects going on. Staff's working really hard. And yet there was nothing taken for granted in this budget. It's very clear in the detailed review that this was thorough and thoughtful, that the changes are strategic and geared towards implementing the things that the elected leaders have specified, and to doing, moving our city forward in ways that are efficient and good. So it gives me a lot of confidence in this work and in the staff's ability to execute it, to see it presented this well, even though it's if you will, a plain vanilla, not too much change budget. There's a lot of work in this, and I really appreciate that. And I appreciate the review that my colleagues did who were on the finance committee as well.
Okay. Would you like to make a motion?
I would be honored to make a motion to approve the budget estimate.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, thank you. Appropriate as the chair of the finance committee. Thank you. All right, we have a motion by Councilmember Funk and a second by Councilmember Newsom. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Funk,
Yes.
Councilmember Newsom,
Yes.
Councilmember Peak,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Daris,
Yes.
Mayor Burwell.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right, thank you. And thank you again, staff, for great work on this. Okay,
The award-winning staff, I might
Yes.
add, too. So thank you guys very much for all your hard work.
So, very good. We were going to move on to the next item, item J, which is our council announcements and committee reports. We'll start with committee reports, and we'll start on my left, Councilmember Peak.
No committee reports, but I did want to say that I had a fantastic time at the zoo. We stuck around afterwards to serve ice cream as a city council person and a Rotarian. I had to step in and help one of my fellow Rotarians who was manning a booth by himself. We ended up serving 9 gallons of coffee bean ice cream, and half of our customers were children. So Even unattended children got coffee bean ice cream at the zoo between the hours of 5:30 and 7 p.m. So I'm not quite sure how that panned out, but they loved the ice cream. It was greatly attended. It was very well attended. I remember last year was 100 degrees. This year it was like 72. There were a lot of people there. The music was really, Jose was a great DJ, all in all, the three of us that were there for the ice cream Zufari as well. I'm sure everybody else can attest to it. But anyway, fantastic job to Parks and Rec.
Yeah, it was great. The ice cream didn't melt either, I assume. Yeah, very good. Okay, Mayor Pro Tem Daris.
I have just one meeting coming up on Thursday. Visits Locale meets, I think that's our quarterly. So just that is all I have.
Okay, I'll just jump in as we go down the line here. Integrated Waste Management Authority, IWMA, is meeting tomorrow. We will adopt the 2025-26 budget. And in that budget, we are lowering the rate, well, assuming we pass it, we will be further lowering the solid waste management fee that the IWMA puts on haulers, who in turn put it on people's garbage bills. Last year, we had lowered the rate to 3%. This year, we're looking to lower the rate in a split fashion because we determined there's some customers who are not subject to all of the requirements of SB 1383 out in the very rural, low population density areas. So our folks who are subject to those requirements and our businesses will be paying a 1.77% on their garbage bill. So that's a further decrease from 3%. And so we'll be happy to do that. And it's a slightly different number for business. I think it'll be 2.06%. So anyway, good bottom line is we're further reducing the solid waste management fee that the IWMA imposes. So that's really good news. And we also will, we're almost on board with bringing on our new executive director. Has been selected, just can't say who it is yet. It's being worked through. And let's see, I think that's all I had as a committee report. So I'll move on down the line to Councilmember Funk.
Okay, let's see, the Homeless Services Oversight Council Executive Committee meets a week from Wednesday. I've been asked to speak at a Women in Real Estate luncheon that I'll be one of a number of officials doing that, but we'll have a chance to get some folks who are dealing with real estate and property development around the county to know the great things that we're doing and to promote our new downtown project on the morning, on the day that we're going to come back for the big block party. So that'll be fun. And then this Saturday, I will be exercising my privilege as a council member under our norms to offer a letter of recognition to the Atascadero Pride in the Park Festival. Encourage all my colleagues to attend that and be part of engaging with many of our folks in the LGBTQ plus community and allies. They've got over 70 vendors lined up. Staff has been doing good work to support the big event. All kinds of food and drink and stuff to buy, stuff to make, stuff to enjoy, roller skating, you name it. Also, if you want to talk to the federal government about requirements like we just discussed earlier, our Congressman Jimmy Panetta will be having a booth there and his staff will be available for discussions. So if anyone would like to review the text of the certificate recognition, I have that here, the draft text on the dais.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Newsom.
Thank you. Disappointed that my colleagues didn't bring me any ice cream instead of my Robitussin. I could have used some coffee ice cream. Thanks for Mayor Barbeau stepping in for me for Slow Cog. Last week, I have a League of California Cities Transportation Committee on Friday. Thank you.
Got it. Thank you. And thank you for the reminder that I did attend SLOCOG, RTA on your behalf. And I would mention long awaited, many of us use it or have used it. I've used it hundreds of times over the years, but the Highway 4146 intersection is now going to be an overpass. And Caltrans is having a ribbon cutting for that on Thursday morning, or yeah, I think Thursday morning. And so that's going to be a great thing if you head that direction. So that was interesting. At SLOCOG, they also did vote to proceed with a survey of county residents regarding the potential for putting a half-cent sales tax measure on the 2026 ballot. But that's just a survey to see where people are at and determine whether it'd be worth putting that on the ballot and asking voters to consider that item in 2026. So, okay, with that, thank you all. I don't see any individual determinations. If not, then we will adjourn the meeting. Thank you all.